I'm very happy to see you here today because I believe that this conference, it is the first one, is very, very important to show that even that we are facing few problems with our neighbors, with the Arab world, still regional cooperation can last forever. While we are sharing peace treaty with Egypt and peace treaty with Jordan, we would like to have better economic relations with them and with the others. I was privileged during my tenure as foreign minister to convince the Americans to sign the free trade agreement, what we call the quiz, with Egypt. They were very, very skeptical if they should do so, because after they did it with the Jordanians, the textile lobby in the United States was very upset because the exports from Jordan toward the United States increased from $13 million only per year to above $1.5 billion in a few years after. And it took me a very long time to try to convince their Bob Zolik, that these days is the president of the World Bank, then he was the Secretary of Trade and Commerce, that it would be very, very important for the Egyptians, for the Americans, as well for the Israelis. And after we signed that free trade agreement, the quiz agreement, there were many demonstrations in all over Egypt. But for the first time, not against an agreement with Israel, but why their zones were not included. And that showed me once again that while there are some benefits for the people themselves, they really believe that they should support it, and they really think that it's for their benefits and they should support it. What made me more optimistic then was the idea that it's not only the government of Egypt that is supporting good relations with Israel, but it's the people of Egypt as well. These days, there are new voices. These days are new phenomena. But still, when we see those people there in Egypt and those people there in Jordan or elsewhere, we only see those who are very extreme, those who are opposing the idea of peace, and we don't see the common people, those who really think that peace treaty with Israel is very helpful. I would like to believe that after the election that will take place in Egypt, the new government will be committed to the peace treaty that was achieved between our two countries more than 30 years ago. I was very happy to find out that all the candidates said very clear that they are committed to the idea that the peace treaty between our two countries should last forever. What I think needs to be done with the Arab countries these days is to support those moderate regimes. Those moderate regimes are under a huge pressure of those extremists, first and foremost the Iranians. There is a very big battle these days between the moderate and the extremists who will take control on the Middle East. But I think the big battle is between the West world, led by the United States and Europe, and the Iranians, who will take control of the most important region in the world, and not because we live here, because it's a very important region geographically, topographically, and of course, first and foremost, because the oil reserves for the next 150 years are located here. Not here, unfortunately, in Israel, but here in the region. We only recently found some gas here in our region, in our territory. Let's all of us hope that we might have some oil as well, even though that in the Bible they never promise us only milk and honey. Still, I think that we should support those moderates, we should embrace them, we should strengthen them, we should empower them in order to make sure that they will not fail in their efforts to keep in power. The Iranians will do everything they can in order to take control. We know it because they would like to revive the Persian Empire. They would like, once again, to take control of all the Middle East, of all the oil fields, to develop nuclear bomb, and by that, to become a real big superpower in the world that no one would be able to stop them in the future. In the same time, there are some others that really are trying to resist. And those powers are not so strong these days. We should help them. We should help them among, let's say, within Egypt, within Jordan, and within the Palestinians as well. I really believe that the current leadership of the Palestinians would like to achieve peace with Israel. I talked to them many times in the past. I talked to Abu Mazen, as well to Prime Minister Salam Fayyad, and I found them really committed to the idea of peace with Israel. Unfortunately, I don't think that these days to try to take a unilateral move will be helpful in order to achieve more understanding that will move us toward peace between Israel and the Palestinians. I know that most of the world is trying now to talk to the Palestinians and ask them not to do so. I know that even among the Palestinian leadership, not all of them think the same. There is a very big dispute even between some high officials within the Palestinian leadership. Not all the Arab leaders really think this is the time to do it. We believe that unilateral moves are not helpful. We have heard many times Abu Mazen is saying that the fact that we don't have peace and quiet from Gaza is because we took a unilateral move to disengage and not by an agreement between us and the Palestinians. If they are right about it, and the outcome from Gaza is, of course, not a positive one, unfortunately it's a negative one, why they insist to take a unilateral move? I want to remind you that according to Oslo Accords, it says very clear that no one of the parties is allowed to take unilateral moves. More than that, to give recognition right now to a Palestinian state in the UN Assembly, short time before they plan to take an election that no one knows who will come to power after, I think it might endanger the whole region. Because if the Hamas will take the lead, this time the elections are not only for the parliament, but for the presidency as well. And that's why I think it should be with more understanding between us and them. We are trying to resume the negotiations with the Palestinians for a very long time. We have tried it since we took power. Unfortunately, we didn't succeed. They asked us first to accept the idea of two-state solution that was accepted by Prime Minister Olmert, by Prime Minister Shalom, and by Prime Minister Barak. And it was a very well-known speech that was made by Prime Minister Netanyahu in Bar-Ilan University that he accepted that idea. After that, they asked us to freeze the settlements, for a moratorium in the settlements. a demand that was not put in front of any other Prime Minister of Israel before, but still the Israeli inner cabinet took a decision to freeze the settlements. Even though we didn't succeed to bring the Palestinians and the Israelis together in order to resume the negotiations. But even though during that whole period of time we did everything we can in order to continue to find ways how to improve the lives of the Palestinians, how to improve the lives of the Israelis, how to have a real regional cooperation. We canceled roadblocks, we canceled checkpoints, and we tried to implement many new projects during the last 2.5 years. Those projects can be even better if we would have direct negotiations. Unfortunately, we cannot do it directly. We do it only through mediators. The main one, and the most important one, that is so much committed to the idea of peace, is my good friend, Prime Minister Blair. Thank you very much, Mr. Blair, for what you are doing for peace here in our region. Certificate of Appreciation, award to Mr. Tony Blair, the Quartet emissary, to the Middle East for his efforts and contribution to regional cooperation and peace between Israelis and the Palestinians. Mr. Silvan Shalom, Senior Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Regional Cooperation, and the ministry staff, Tel Aviv-Yafo, Yafo is Jaffa, September 5th, 2011. Thank you very much.